Ave strategos, I'm Pericles and welcome back to our another temple guide video. So as you know, today is a Friday and we do usually talk about different factions temples guide on Fridays, and this is one of them. So today's topic is Scythians. So we pretty much done with all cultures except the barbarian culture, and I wanted to make this start with Scythians. There's no special reason behind it, it's just I was around this geography and I said, okay, let's start with Scythians, so it was a completely random choice. So today we're gonna be talking about Scythian Temples Guide. So I assume with barbarians we're gonna experience a little different stuff than the other cultures, because usually in other cultures like Romans, Greek culture factions, they have 5 tier temples. We've seen that in some Eastern cultured factions, and in Carthaginians and Numidians, they have only 4, but barbarians gonna have the cap of 3. So we'll talk about that all. So folks, what we talking about in this temples guide? If you're watching for the first time, we usually talking about each separate temple one by one. We talk about their advantages, their disadvantages, how basically what kind of traits, what kind of followers, what kind of bonuses they grants for us, and at the end we summarize them all and decide that in which situation you can build the which temple, and in which situation the another one is suits better. So pretty much everything in detail about the temples that you can think of. So when I prepare for this video, I am using the game files and reading all about the temples themselves separately and stuff, and also we're using a console commands for being able to build necessary temples in each settlement. Usually I do one temple in one settlement, and for example I'm having like basically the family member in the settlement, cleaning all the unnecessary traits and followers from them, and only keeping the traits and followers which are related to our temple guide. So let's start. And see what we gonna be seeing with Scythians. So we have 3 temple options, folks. The first one is Popeye, and another one is API, I guess, or API. That's how we actually call it the work, but API, I assume. And we have Kolexai. 95% I'm sure I didn't pronounce none of them correctly, but whatever. So as you see, we have a level cap of 3. You can't build further than 3rd tier. That's the main reason, is because with the barbarian factions you can't go over minor city. That is the biggest reason I don't like to play with barbarian factions. I feel like they're limiting, restricting me somehow. The game probably would be much more interesting and much more diversified for me if the barbarians had their large city and huge city tiers as well. Maybe not exactly the same bonuses as the other civilized factions. I understand they're trying to make the point here that barbarians are not very civilized, but that also makes them less playable in my eyes. Whatever, that's not the topic for today. So I built the shrine to Popeye, actually the sacred circle of Popeye in the Campus City. So I will go one by one. The first tier, shrine to Popeye. So what's Popeye temple actually overall? The Popeye temple is a temple of law. That's how it goes in the game files. And we've already seen couple law temples until to this point. If you watched our Scipii Romans temple guide, we talked about they have a temple called Saturn. That is a law temple. And last week our topic was Egyptians, and we talked about Horus. So Horus is Egyptians' law temple. So some basically traits, some followers, and some even the building bonuses themselves, like I'm talking about, those might be similar because they're the Temple of Law, but they have some differences between each other as well. So the first tier we have Shrine to Popeye, which gets us 5% public order bonus due to happiness and 5% public order bonus due to law. So overall we're getting 10% of public order, and 5 from happiness, 5 from law. So at the first place, that's the reason you're building the temples is because you need a public order. You want to keep your public order in your settlement well maintained. You don't want them rioting and stuff. So that's the reason you build the temples. And having 10% public order in the first tier is great. And especially 5% comes from the law, which basically, as you see over here, you see the happiness public order bonus, law public order bonus. Not everything comes from the first tier temple, of course, but they have both over here. Also, well, if you'll go to the, I think, where was it? All right, so in this section actually, I'm sorry, in this section actually, if you will have a corruption, sometimes you have a negative on the corruption. I think it's been over there. Yeah, it's been over here usually. Let me see, is there any other settlement we have with corruption? I'm wondering that. For example, this settlement over here has a corruption. If we would build a Popeye temple over here, just because of the having public order due to law, having law in your the higher law in your settlement means the less corruption money loss you're gonna have. So it also helps greatly with your public order bonus with 10%, and helps you with your settlement income as well. So it is great start, and it is very easy to build. Pretty much every settlement starts as a town a game, and pretty much every settlement you're gonna conquer is already a town, and takes only 1 turn to build, 400 denarii, and pretty solid starting point. And now let's talk about once you finish the construction for this building, what kind of traits and followers you might get. There's only one trait we're gonna be talking about, which is merchant devotion. So we've talked about devotions a lot in previous temple guides, but I'll go over once more how these devotions work. So you have to have, like, by the way, every different shrine, every different basically god has their own devotion. So for example, if we have another let's say shrine to something else over here, you're gonna have another devotion. So it differs from temple to temple, from type of to temple to type of to temple, let's put it in that way. If you have a devotion to law, probably Scipio Romans, we said they has Saturn, Egyptians has Horus. The merchants over there gonna have the exact same devotion to law trait in their merchants, and the bonus is gonna be the exact same. So how the devotion works: you have to have a related shrine, which means the first tier religious building, built already in your settlement. You have to wait for the finishing the construction, which takes 1 turn, and after that, if you have a merchant somewhere, you just bringing the merchant to that settlement and letting him end the turn in a settlement, and next turn he will get this devotion with 100% of chance if he doesn't have any other devotion. So one merchant cannot have more than 1 devotion. So if he doesn't have any devotion, if he will end the turn 1 turn in that settlement, next turn with 100% of chance he'll get it. Let's say you don't have a merchant. If you gonna wait for the building's construction, let's say it's finished and you don't have any merchant, you just recruiting a fresh merchant after the construction finished, then the newly recruited merchant will basically show up with this trait. So you don't have to do anything specific, you can just send them to the bargains, you know. I'm not gonna talk about the details too much about the +1 finance when trading slaves, -1 when not trading slaves, but I can tell you this much: this kind of +1 finance, like basically this bonus trading slave bonus is actually um, pretty decent, because probably like me, most of you starting to enslave all the settlements you conquer after one point, and it means you're gonna see a lot of different devotions. They don't have slaves. Some of them says +1 finance when trading wood, +1 finance when trading iron, for example. You would agree with me that you don't have iron in every region, right? You have basically, you can check it over here. If you will, let me see, where is that? Is it the trade goods over here? For example, you can check where the irons at, or where the, for example, gold at. Only few regions. But if you will enslave pretty much every settlement you take, you're gonna have slaves pretty much in every settlement, and you're gonna have much more accessibility for your merchant to be able to use his trade with a better proficiency. So that's all. Now let's jump to the higher tier building of the Popeye, the second tier I'm talking about. So in the second tier, we have 20% overall public order bonus, 10 from happiness, 10 from law, and pretty like steady increase, and twice increase over here. And again, for the second tier building, it's still solid. It is a very decent choice to build. You're getting 20% as early as the large town. Maybe not all the towns at the beginning is gonna be a large town, but a lot of them is gonna be a large town, especially the ones you conquer is gonna be a large town for sure. So having accessibility, having basically a chance to build this building is not very difficult. And takes only 2 turns, 800 denarii, not that much, but the bonus is pretty solid. Now let's talk about, once you finish this construction, what kind of traits and followers you can get. So now we'll be talking about purely the family member traits and followers. What I'm saying by family member, it can be your faction leader, factionaire, your family member, your general, whoever with picture pretty much. Definitely we're not talking about the faction leader. That's the only trait over here that we're not going to be talking about. Our traits starts from here. Sober. So sober in the game files goes as a sobriety 1. It's the first level of sobriety trait, and it gets you 1 management and 5% penalty to your popularity with the people. So I mentioned the exact same trait with Egyptians, I remember, and I see this popularity with people and kind of confused me. So as I said, usually in this series I'm using the console commands. Why? Because we say the devotion, you have 100% of chance if your merchant is ending the settlement in a turn, right? But exact same condition, you have to wait for the construction for this building is finished, and then you have to have a family member ending the turn in a settlement. But next turn, he doesn't have 100% of chance to get this trade. Each time you end the turn, he has 15% of chance for being able to get this trade. So I don't want to just sit in my place and just enter and enter and enter, and that's one of the other reasons that I use console command here. I just give the trade to the specific person and try to show you that you might get this trade. And usually if the trait is not suitable to your character, for example, there's like some Roman basically specific traits. They talk about it gets you 10% popularity with the people, but -5 popularity with Senate and stuff. If even you try to add them with console commands, the game doesn't let you. It says the trait or follower, like the ancillary, is not suitable for the character. But the game lets me to have it. So I assume it's kind of gap. Probably they forget about it. +1 management is great. I always like to have a high management point. Why? Because management determines how much extra money your settlement gonna generate each turn. And especially if the family member is a governor. What I mean by the governor, if he sits in a settlement, if it doesn't go to the campaigns, doesn't take the army and goes and attacks to another people, if he sits on the settlement and just rules it, then it's great, because each turn passively you're getting extra income. Higher your management is, the higher admin bonus you're getting. So it means the better income it comes from the settlement. And the only downside about this trade is this 5% penalty to your popularity with the pupil, but it doesn't affect you at all. You don't have like a Senate and pupil screen with the Scythians, and the same thing with the Egyptians I mentioned, so you don't have to worry about. So basically it means you completely ignore this part, which it doesn't apply to you. You only benefit from it, and it's not a bad trade. The second trade on the list is a Punisher, and this goes as a harsh justice trait, and in the first tier, harsh justice 1 in the game files, and you have only 6% of chance every at the end of each turn to be able to get this trait. Let's see what it gets for us. +1 unrest and +2 law. So both of them related with the public order. The unrest, you're gonna see over here, unrest gives you disorder. It means it's a minus public order, but law gets you plus public order. So overall you're getting 1 minus but 2 plus, so it is actually a gain over here. You get profited from here. As far as I know, the unrest doesn't affect anything else except the disorder, and you are basically benefiting only from the +1 law. Think about that. But also another thing, the +1 unrest gets you only negative public order, but this gets you 2 times more public order, plus decreasing your corruption if your settlement has some, so more money as well. And the next one on the list is a Stern. In the game files it is Aus tier 1, and also 6% of chance for your family member to be able to get this trait at the end of each turn, and it gets you +1 management. Again, good to have. 100% cost to bribe. Looks like 2 buffs, but I don't care about this buff because that is pretty much useless. This is useful, pretty useful, but this is pretty much useless. Why? Because anyways, if there would be a mechanic in the game that, let's say, enemy or any other faction diplomat tries to bribe my family member with this trade on, let's say if he doesn't have this trade, they can buy him out for 5,000 gold, but with this one they're gonna have to buy it for 10,000 gold. If that 10,000 would be added to my treasury, then that would make a sense, but it doesn't work like that. So having this won't help you pretty much at all. That's all. That's all the traits that you're gonna be seeing about this building and the higher tier Popeye building. And we have one follower. We have a priest. So every basically as a devotion, but little different than devotion, every temple has its own priest or a priestesses. So how they work exact same conditions. You have to wait at least the second tier of related temple, which is Sacred Grove of Papa in here. You have to have like a second tier already constructed, and you have to have a family member ending the turn in that settlement. And each time he ends the turn in the settlement, he has a 15% of chance to be able to get the priest related to the temple. So in this case it's a priest of Popeye. Priest of Popeye, what it gets for us: +1 management, great to have, +2 public security, it is okay, and +1 law. A law, great again. Public order helps, management helps with the money. Public security only helps with if the enemy spies tries to infiltrate to your settlement. The higher public security means it's gonna be more difficult for them to get in your settlement and gather information and stuff. It is kind of important, but I would say very little. So that's all about the second tier. Now let's jump to the third one, and on the third tier we have 30% overall public order bonus, 15 from happiness, 15 due to law, and I feel like it is still a very decent, very solid a line of basically temple to go with. So that's all about Popeye. Now we'll jump to the API. I'll call it API. I hope it's not API. I don't think so. It's API probably. So we'll talk about the API. So at the Campus Sarmate in this settlement, I built the API temple basically, and API temple is a temple of love. We've seen Temple of Love in two different factions before, Greek cities and Pontus. They both has exact same goddess, which is Aphrodite. They're sharing the same goddess, and the Scythians, they share the same Temple of Love but with different name, API. So let's see what's going on over here. 5% public order bonus due to happiness and 0.5% population growth bonus. So we are starting with the 5% of public order bonus and with happiness instead of 10 with happiness and low, but we have 0.5% population growth instead. So it's a temple of love, and having a population grow do make a sense. They basically try to make it, how can I say, suitable for the temple name, I guess. And overall, it's not bad, not great neither. So for a starter, especially in the settlements which they are suffering from the very low population, for example, before using the console commands on this settlement was very tiny. For example, let's say you're gonna go ahead and capture this settlement over here or a couple settlements around. All the barbarian settlements pretty much, like, they are usually having a less population, so it might make a sense from place to place. And let's talk about the trade of this building grants for us after the construction is finished. Is a devotion again for our merchant, devotion to love. Exact same conditions applied here, 100% of chance. You get +2 finance when trading rarities and -1 for iron. So you figure out what are the rarities are, where you can find those. I'm not going to talk about those since it's not a merchant or a trade guide, but I just wanted to show you that this trade will come right after you build it, if you have a merchant in a settlement or if you're recruiting a one. So we'll jump to the second tier API building, which is 10% public order bonus due to happiness. This time we see twice increase and 1% population grow bonus, but it also enables us to recruit. It enables the training of headhunting maidens. So folks, as a stat wise, they look pretty solid. They are 135 men on the unit. 10 morale is huge. I mean, it is great. 9 melee attack is pretty high. Defense are pretty high. Charge is very high. So overall, it is very strong unit. That's how it looks on the paper, to be honest. But I never had a campaign with Scythians. I had couple little battles, but I never had them in a battlefield. So I don't know, are they any good as it shows on a paper or not? But the stat wise, they are very strong. The only downside about the unit, it takes unfortunately 2 turns to build. I don't like the units which takes 2 turns to build, especially if I'm gonna explain why, because I don't usually recruit in every settlement. That's why, like, I have only few settlements where I usually specialize that settlements for recruiting, retraining purposes, and having 2 turn basically unit training is kind of hurts, but the unit is pretty strong. Let's compare it with the general cavalry. General cavalry is like 12, 13 and 14, and these units are 10 and 9, 11. Very close to the general cavalry, and general cavalry is one of the most solid units in the game overall. Early game, mid game, even in the late game, but in the early, especially in the early game, it has much more impact. Towards the late game it gets less, but still holds its strong position. So I actually, when I prepared myself for this video, Seeing these units, they surprised me a lot. I never thought that Scythians has access such a unit, like strong units such as this. So it is great unit. Temple itself is okay, but the unit it grants is OP, and we'll talk about that once you've done the training, or I'm sorry, once you've done the construction of the Sacred Grove of API, which means the second tier API building, what kind of traits and followers is being unlocked. Only one trait, Casual Adulterer. Probably it can be my probably top 3, one of maybe the best trait I have seen in the game. Uh, in the game files it goes as a girls 1, and unfortunately you have only 5% of chance at the end of each turn to be able to get this trait. But what it gets you, why I like it so much, it gets you +2 morale. And I usually fight the battles manually, and I don't turn the arcade mode on, which it disables the factors such as fatigue, morale in the battlefield. I like it realistic, and morale is very huge, very important, has a great huge impact on the battlefield if you fighting the battles manually. The higher morale means the less likely your units will start to panic, start to flee. So the higher morale means even your peasants are much more, how can I say, much more spirited, much more mentally strong. So even they die, but they don't run away. So usually you win the manual battles in most cases because of basically, how can I say, because of keeping your morale high and trying to decrease the enemy's morale so they can flee. You don't clash head to head, have like a couple thousand casualties from each side. If you want to do very effective way, even against a very hard difficulty, you're trying to keep your always maintaining your morale as high as possible and decreasing the enemies, your opponent's morale as low as possible. So morale is the very important factor, and +2 morale is very huge, but unfortunately you have only 5% of chance at the end of each turn, as I mentioned. So and the follower, we will talk about the priest of Api. That's the only follower we'll be talking about. Another 15% of chance here. All the priests are 15% of chance, and all the devotions are 100% of chance. And the priest of Api gets us +1 management, is great. Increases the chance of having children, another great trait to have, another great bonus to have, and +1 public health. The public health directly related with public order. The higher public health means the higher public order you're gonna have. Each basically +1 means 5% public order, and also public health means one public order. One public health means 0.5% population growth as well. So health also affects your public order and population growth. In case of having children, probably it explains itself. You can have more children. The person that has this follower is more fruitful, let's put it in that way. It is great because you having more generals. More generals means you can put everything aside. More generals means more barbarian warlord cavalry, like these strong units you can have much more. And this, I love to play with those. Why? Because you don't have to retrain them, they replenish themselves. They are very strong in every stage of the game, especially early to mid game. You don't basically once they suffered, you don't have to go to the settlement, try to retrain them. That's very great bonuses them to have. Also, having extra family member never hurts. Sometimes I'm trying to make armies with like 5, 6, 7 family members, which I can use their cavalry in the battle. So it is great priest to have. I would probably say better than the first priest. Let me just double check. Yeah, it is probably. I mean, yes and no. They both have their own goods, but they both are pretty solid actually. They both are pretty good to have. So that is the second priest we talked today. So let's jump to the last tier API building. Our population growth goes up to 1.5%, and public order from happiness goes up to 15%, and we see another steady increase here. And we have new unit that once you finish the construction you are able to build. Scythian noble woman, again another 2-turn recruited unit, which is downside over here, and 90 men in a group. I think the regular horse cavalry, let me see, regular horse archers is 135, and exact same way there's maidens, they are 90, but let's see why they are 90. So this woman has 8 morale. It is pretty high, it is decently high, and I would say everything 6 is the middle point for me. So the 4 and lower is low, 8 and higher is high for me. So high as 8 morale points is pretty strong. Melee attack, it is alright, not very how can I say, exciting. Same with defense, it's not super well defended, but their missile range is huge, 170. Their missile attack is not very high neither, is only 8. They have 30 ammo, but their missile range is pretty high. So I want to compare it with the other Scythian archers. 8, 30 and 170. Noble archers, 8, 10, 12. 8, 10, 8, 12. 8, 10, 8, 12. Actually, I can't find any reason that why would I get this unit, which recruits in 2 turns. 660 gold I pay up front and 130 each turn. What about this one? I pay more expensive at the beginning, but I pay a little more at every turn, but more like stronger unit. I don't understand why I wouldn't like to have it. Actually, this is a better unit to have and only recruits in 1 turn. I want to see where is the, okay, this is the one, right? The regular horse archers, of course, like they are very low quality units, but I can't talk mouthfully about this cavalry as I did with the first one, but also it lets you have these folks as well. So if you want to have the woman horse archers in your battle formation, you're very welcome to build the 3rd tier of API circle, and then wait 2 turns and recruit that Scythian noble woman horse archers. So that is all about the API line. There is nothing else worth of mention over here. Now we'll jump to the last one on the Scythian list, which is Colaxi. So over here at Tanais I build the Colaxi, and let's take a look. So the Colaxi is a temple of horse. I've never seen a temple of horse in a game before. Actually in the game files it goes as a temple horse 2. I assume they have horse 1 in some other barbarian faction. We haven't seen the horse basically temple before. We've seen low before, we've seen love before, but this is something new. It gets us 5% public order bonus due to happiness, and experience point for your troops trained here +1. So this temple is not focused on public order, mostly I would say. As I see this experience point over here, it makes me think that okay, this is a little bit more military focused, because experience bonus for your troops is actually a huge upgrade, is actually a huge bonus, but really depends on which settlement you're trying to build this. We'll talk about those all at the end. So the stat wise is pretty solid, I can say. A little different than the other two, but solid. And let's talk about the devotion over here. The devotion for this temple is a devotion to animals. Temple of Horse, devotion to animals makes sense. +1 finance when trading wild animals, -1 for timber. You figured out on your own how useful it can be for you, and you can tailor it to your needs and stuff. So we won't stay on it too long. We'll jump right straight to the second tier. 10% public order bonus and 2 experience. Actually, the one thing I can say, 1 experience point as early as a town, 2 experience point in the large town is huge. 2 experience point means pretty much your unit's morale doesn't change, but your melee attack, your missile attack, your armor, your defense, they all increases. So each point increases all those stats +1. So +2 as early as this is a huge impact on your army actually, if you'll basically pay attention enough. And now let's take a look and talk about the traits and the priest over here. 2 traits we're gonna be talking about, not faction here, these 2 over here. Skilled cavalry commander, +1 command when commanding cavalry, and poor infantry commander, -1 when commanding cavalry. So both has 10% of chance at the each turn to be able to get for your family member. It doesn't mean they both have 10% together. You might have this positive trait, but you can be likely for not getting this, or completely vice versa, or you can get both at the same time. They are basically, since it's a temple of horse, so it gets you a command point for cavalry but -point for infantry. Overall, none of them matters a lot, to be honest. So I was just today in the morning, I was in the middle that does command affects you in a battlefield if you're fighting it manually at all or not. So I took 2 generals against same enemy and cleared all the traits and followers. So they were 0, nothing trait, no follower, and on both generals. And in one general I started to add 2 traits like good commander 5 and natural military skill 3, so it made it 8 command point, and another one I kept at 0. So I gave both a peasant and I was playing with the Rome. I gave them both peasant and the town watch, and sent them against the fight, sent them to the fight against the same rebel army. And I tried to see any difference. I didn't resolve the battle. I didn't fight against them, but I checked the stats of like the units like this, because I googled it. Some people says it the higher command points means higher morale for your troops in the battlefield. It is not true, folks. I tried it, doesn't matter. Even I used a special ability, still doesn't change. And neither it affects to any other point, any other basically stat for your troops. There might be any bonuses the higher command grants to your army, but some invisible points, maybe their I don't know, their like fighting ability or something, but nothing I can see and I can rely on. So that's how I was thinking anyway. So it means the command points doesn't matter for you if you're fighting manually. So if you auto resolving the battle, then that's different story. The higher command point is gonna let you lose less men and kill more men from the enemy. And the higher the better auto resolve result. But doesn't matter, it is a lower, negative or higher. If you're fighting manually, it won't change anything. So none of them is actually a great impact for a player like me, because 95% of the battles I do fight, and the rest of the 5% it really happens every once in a while, and I'm cool. I can take that basically loss from there. I don't mind. Again, Priest of Kolaksai, 15% of chance over here, +2 command when commanding cavalry. Again, I can't say this follower comes near the other 2 at all. So not a great actually follower. if you compare this management, public health, having children, another management, law, especially you can use this button, you can move the followers between your family members. So it is those basically priests are great to have, but can't say the same for this one. I know who's gonna use that. I always fight the manually, so I don't care about this. Now let's talk about the last tier of this building. 15% public order bonus due to happiness and 3 experience point this time. I mean, military wise is huge, temple wise is not that great. So as a temple, I wouldn't say this is the best temple to build, but a military bonus wise is great. It's like a blacksmith actually, but in a different way. Blacksmith upgrades your light, heavy, missile armor, but this gets you extra experience bonus. So overall, folks, once we basically talked about them all, what is the best to build? In my opinion, what if I would be playing a Scythian campaign, probably in maybe 80% of my settlements I would build the Popeye. The only reason why, because there's such a huge public order bonuses you're getting. When I build a temple, I am building it for its own public order bonuses. Of course, the other like devotions, this kind of traits and followers. Also, there's extra like a side dishes, but mainly I'm looking for a public order, and this Popeye offers me the highest out of those 3. Also, I'm getting a good traits such as a sober, punisher, stern. They're all good. There's no negative trait over here, even you have small minor negative stats, but overall all of them separately is pretty decent to have. Priest is great to have. Management, public security is okay, but we talked about it. Law is another extra, law is good. So overall this is great. I wouldn't build API like without knowing all this knowledge we talked today, but now I think I might build in few settlements, especially on the settlements which I am desperate for population. I would build API. I would build API, basically a temple, and probably no more than maybe 5 or 10% of my whole settlements. If I have like 10 settlements, maybe I would build the 8 Popeye, 1 API, and 1 Kolaksai. And the reason I would build API, because if I have very desperate settlement with the population, that would help me to bump it. And also I can get this priest of Popeye. Keep that in mind. I think you guys can have multiple priests. Yes, you can have multiple priests in one person. It doesn't work the same way as a devotion. You can have only one devotion, but you can have multiple priests in same person. So you can have 1 or 2 governors in a settlement. Let's say you build in your campaign the API over here as well, and leave 1 or 2 generals here if you have a chance. If you have only 3 generals, there's no point to keep as a governor. I usually send them to fights, but if you have some extra ones, keep them in a settlement, let them get you priest of API. And it doesn't work this way that if they got it once, they're not gonna be able to get it anymore. If they got it once, and if you moved the priest of API to anyone else from them, and they can keep basically generating you that priest, and it's a great priest to have. Everybody can have increased chance of having children, everyone can have a management and public health points, so it is great to have. Same way for the this one, I would if he's my governor, and if this guy is my governor, and if each of them got their followers already, I would send this follower to him and his follower to this guy. Then they both could have access for both priests, and then once they got a new one, then I will send it to someone else. So that's one reason for this priest. And for population growth, this trait is very great as well, but the only bad point about it, as I said, you have only 5% of chance to get this trait, and this trade, unfortunately, you cannot move it to someone else. And since most probably you're gonna get this trade on your governor, he's never gonna go to the war, you can only use it in your defensive battles. Hopefully that won't happen. So the main reason, a little reason for population, bigger reason for this priest, and another bigger reason is for this cavalry. You can have one or two basically you can have one or two settlements which can get you that cavalry. This city nobles 8-8 13, but these guys are these ladies, I'm sorry, 8-8 13. So yeah, their defense is a little lower, but morale and attack is higher. So they are great. They're pretty good units to build basically. So just for having those units, you can have one or two, but probably the main reason could be the follower. And about the Colaxi, I would build again if I have 10 settlements, only maybe in one. Why? Because I usually, at the beginning of the campaign, I do recruit from everywhere possible, right? But once I proceed, I mostly focus on the big percentage of in my settlements. I focus on economic buildings, such as like ports, traders, the farms, the roads. I don't know what this tavern grants for me. Maybe if there's another like income generating like mines. And in some of them I only build military buildings, such as like barracks, stables, and like the archer ranges. So that those settlements are being my settlements where I usually recruit my main armies. I don't recruit from the others. I try to keep the economy up with the other buildings, other settlements, but with that, let's say here's Tanais is kind of my military, let's say, settlement where I build the barracks, stables, archer range, blacksmith. I upgrade them to the higher tiers, and on those settlements you can build Colaxi. Why? Because I'm gonna recruit from here 80% of my army, and I want my armies start with these bonuses. Let's just how can I say, compares only the peasants, which peasants doesn't have too much points. Look at that, melee attack stays the same, but defense 4 point. We don't have it over here. We have it over here. No, it shouldn't be right, I think. Alright, so it means it doesn't work the way. I'm just gonna try actually. Nice. And I want to do the same over here. So these guys have 1, 4, 3. Okay, you see it over here. Their melee attack is 3 points more since they have 3 experience. 7 defense. 7 defense is huge for the peasant actually. So imagine you're gonna be recruiting like the higher tier units, maybe not in this settlement. Let's say you got like Byzantium or Thessalonica or something. You're gonna have like access for higher tier like barracks or like these units. Imagine they are having extra 3 points of experience. It is just huge. So I would use them for military purposes, but not in all. But overall, I would definitely go with Popeye. So that's how my strategy, that's how my diversification would be. I tried to cover everything about the Scythian temples, Scythian trades, Scythian bonuses today, temples at all today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts with me on the comment section. I would appreciate everything you would do, and I will be seeing you folks next week with another barbarian faction temple guide, and you all take care since then.